Why would you work so hard, trade time for money to save something that is losing its value at about 15% a year? Like if you have 100,000 right now, in 1 year, you'll really have 85,000. You'll have 100, but your purchasing power has dropped and now only is worth $85,000. So the poor and the middle class. Hey, welcome everyone to the Jorge Contreras Show, a podcast for those who want to get to 10K a month with Airbnb with and without owning real estate. And today's special guest and the first guest on the Jorge Contreras Show podcast is none other than the legend, the myth, the one and only Lupita Guerrero, who was my very first student in 2018 and was also the very first person to attend my wife and I in-person mastermind. Lupita Guerrero used to work 15-hour days, 6 days a week as a nurse, and she retired at the peak of the pandemic, now has a six-figure business, owns multiple properties, and also subleases. What's going on, Lupita?
Hey, Jorge, thank you so much for that introduction. I am so honored and blessed to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
It is an honor to have you. How's your day going?
It's going amazing. It's amazing. I woke up. I'm doing juicing. I was explaining earlier, just to detoxify. Sometimes we need that in our life, right? But it's awesome to not have to, wake up to an alarm clock, right? I practically lived in the past with that, tradition of like, oh my God, here's the alarm clock. I have to wake up in 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. I actually got a gift for Christmas once that said, the pillow said like 5 minutos más, like 5 more minutes, because I would always want to add more time to sleep. I didn't have time freedom. And I feel blessed to now feel actually how it feels to live actual life and not just be on this like robotic transition that life is sometimes.
Exactly. And then Lupita, can you tell us a little bit about your experience as a nurse and working those long hour shifts? I'm sure a lot of our listeners here can relate to having a high income, but no assets, making great money, but no time. Walk us through, kind of take us back to a lot of the challenges and struggles and what life was like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so as a little bit about myself, my background is nursing, and in nursing, I went into nursing because I generally like to help people, and also, of course, it is a very well-paying career. But I quickly realized that that wasn't everything you needed. You see, when I was growing up, I grew up very limited. We didn't have money, we didn't have resources pretty much. So my quote unquote why was to make money. And that's something that's easily mistaken, because I was there too. When you're asked like, what's your why? Like, oh, I want to make money, because that's what we didn't have. And so literally I went into making money. I was making a good amount of I was making six figures in my nursing career, but I didn't have time freedom. And so I felt like I was a slave, pretty much just the modern slave, right? The legalized slave, clock in, clock out, and do the same thing over and over again. It's like insanity. And I didn't find the way out. I was depressed. I was depressed, and I reached rock bottom. Actually, the moments before I found you, Jorge, I was like, there has to be more to life than this. So if you feel that way, there is. You have to find it, because we're meant for more. We're meant for greatness, and we have to believe it first, and we have to have the courage to out and claim it. And I didn't have that. I used to allow fear to govern my life. And okay, well, let me just go to work again 15 hours, because that's pretty much life. That's what it is. And what they say, it is what it is. Well, it's not what it is. Like, you get to create that. And I reached a point where I didn't have time to even have self-care, take
Mm.
time for me. And that's important, right? And I'm a Hispanic. I come from Hispanic background, and we all have that, family member, that one tia or someone in your life that always is there to like point out the flaws or put you on the spot. And so and it was very rarely that I had the opportunity to go to any type of gatherings, but when I did, there was always that one tia I had that would ask me, y el on tal novio, mija, like that translates to where's the boyfriend, my daughter, or like mija is just a slang in Spanish, but where's your boyfriend? And I would just kind of like try to dodge the bullet, but she would always be right there. And then eventually my mom would jump in too, like, oh, we want grandkids, I want grandkids. And then I couldn't help but to feel some sort of way of like a failure, because I focused 100% of my career and I didn't have a personal life.
Mm.
And I started to realize, like, man, time is ticking, the clock is ticking. Yes, I mean, I still consider myself young, of course, but back then, like, I was younger. I was in my 20s. I'm in my 30s now, but I was in my 20s, and I started to, in my actually mid 20s, yeah, mid 20s, and I started to realize, like, man, if I don't do something now, this is going to be the story of my life. And
Wow.
I didn't want that.
And Lupita, if we go a little bit deeper, why did you decide to become a nurse in the first place?
Yeah. So I've always had this niche of business. And so in high school, actually, I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad in high school. It was given to me as a gift. It was that's how it got introduced to me. So after reading it, I'm like, that's it. I'm going to go into business. And I had all my, you go to your guidance counselor and they help you prep for college courses that will prepare you for the career path you want to take. I had all that down. And in the middle of high school, my dad got unfortunately diagnosed with a terminal illness. And he was admitted under what's called hospice care. And for those of you that don't know what hospice is, it's pretty much a program that's specifically for terminal patients. And the primary focus is end of life care. There's no treatment, there's no chemo, there's no type of treatment to help cure the disease. It's just comfort care. And so he was admitted onto that, and it was heartbreaking. I felt useless. I felt like I couldn't do anything to take the pain away from him, or to make him get better. And there's nothing, if you're going through something like that, or if you've experienced something like that, there's nothing that anyone can do to make it better. But here's what it made for my dad being in hospice. It really made it bearable for him and my family to see that he wasn't in excruciating pain, that he was comfortable until he transitioned peacefully. It gave me peace of mind. And that's what made me change my mind. And I went from pursuing business and full on out in nursing. And that's another reason why I needed a change, because I devoted myself 100% to all my patients because they resembled my dad. And so I didn't give up. Like I would give all in until I wasn't, and my cup was at zero. It was like -0, and I was still going. And then eventually, when I would lose a patient, I would grieve my dad all over again, and it wasn't healthy. It's been he passed away in 2005. It's been several years, and every time somebody would die, I would relive his passing, and I needed a change. And that's where you came along, actually. And actually, for those that I'm sure that they know a little bit about you, but I take the liberty to say Jorge is he is a very successful entrepreneur. He's built multiple 6-figure businesses from the ground up. And when I found Jorge, I didn't find him because I was looking for Airbnb or real estate. Like, I didn't know anything about that. I was like if you would compare kindergarten to like a toddler, I was a toddler. I didn't even know. I wasn't even the kindergarten level. I was that of a beginner. But what Jorge did have is he, as I mentioned, he's built multiple 6-figure businesses, and one of them being that he's the co-founder and creator of one of the biggest dance festivals in California of salsa and bachata. And that's my passion. I love to dance salsa and bachata. And so I was following you on Instagram, Jorge, because I used to think that, oh, I'll get an inside scoop of when the next salsa or bachata event would be, even though I didn't even have the time to go. And so I actually had an emotional breakdown once. And the night before I prayed, I do believe in a higher power. And I prayed to God to please help me find a solution, because as I mentioned earlier, there had to be more to life than where I was, just working 15 long-hour shifts with just one day off. And I prayed to please help me find the way. And the next day I noticed that you were on Instagram Live with Stephanie, your wife, and I listened because I thought it was going to be about dancing, and that my mentality was, let me have a little mental escape as I'm driving to work to my long 15-hour day again. And it was nothing to do with dancing. And this is how I got introduced to where I am today. You and Stephanie were actually talking about, do you remember the Jorphany Weekender?
Of course.
Yeah, that's how I got introduced. So you guys were talking about, you guys were getting ready to have the Jorphender Weekender. And you guys were talking about all the qualifications of the perfect or ideal candidate that could qualify to attend. And as you guys were explaining, I literally pulled over. That was the first day in my career that I was late to work. I pulled over and I'm like, this is what I prayed for last night. Like, wow, this is the fastest prayer God has ever answered, I felt. And so I pulled over and I was listening and I'm like, that's me. And so I was so anxious, like, okay, so when are they going to get to the part where I could apply? And so finally, you guys shared the application to apply, because it was a selective process. It wasn't for everyone. And so I was just praying to God, I hope that I'm a good fit for them because they're a good fit for me. And so I submitted my application and I thought it was going to be an instant answer. Oh my God, that week was the longest week of my life, because I'm like, is it ready? Like, am I selected? And so it was that Friday, the following Friday, that you guys were going to, notify of the qualifier, the people that qualified to attend. And so as soon as I got the email notifying me that I qualified, I'm like, I felt like, because here's the thing is, when you live your life with urgency, like life happens now, like you why wait for tomorrow what you could do today? And for me, I felt like if this is my answered prayer, it's someone else's answered prayer also, and I have to fight for my space because I prayed for this. And so I submitted my application right away, because thinking that there was like so many other people, like, applying, and I'm like, it's gonna sell out. I don't have the time, and I don't want to run the risk of having to wait when the next event would be. And so that's why I decided to jump right in without like even thinking of, like, I don't even know what Airbnb is or anything like that. And so it really has been one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
I love how you've been living the core values of the Real System before the Real System became the Real System, because one of the core values is urgency. And we say, live your life with urgency as if your life and the lives of others depend on it, because it does. And I truly believe that when you live that way and don't wait for tomorrow for what you can do today, like you basically fought for that moment. You fought for your place to be at the mastermind, because we only took 10 people. And because of that one decision, it created this compound effect. You secured your seat, you came to the mastermind. 5 weeks later, you got the keys to your first property. The week after, you joined the Real System, and you've continued to purchase properties, sublease properties, become financially free. Now you're engaged, and kids, hopefully soon. Edgar, ponte las pilas. And it's crazy how your life has unfolded so powerfully. And it all started with that one decision. And what's unfortunate, right, Lupita, is so many people never make that first decision. They don't open that door, and therefore all the other doors never open. So for anybody watching or listening to this podcast, make sure that you Live your life with urgency as if your life and the lives of others depend on it, because it does. So Lupita, thank you so much for sharing, about the past and a lot of the challenges, the obstacles. I'm sure that your papi is super, super proud of his little baby girl, his princess, and everything that you've accomplished as an entrepreneur, as an investor, and pretty soon as a mother and as a wife. Can you walk us through your experience being a part of the Real System? And then after that, like, what were some of the highlights of being in the program? And then walk us through some of the results you've been able to create.
Yeah. So first, I'm not ever going to get tired of saying how blessed I feel to be here. It transformed my life 180 degrees. If I to say that this is about Airbnb, that's just the cherry on top. That's just the cherry on top that you walk away with as a bonus. This is transformative. You give, Jorge, I don't know if you're aware of this, that you do this, if you're conscious about this, but my experience of you is you give your students what they need, not what they want.
Mhm.
And sometimes that could be uncomfortable. Actually, it should be uncomfortable, because if you stay in your comfort zone, you're never going to grow. And so being in the Real System, what it made me realize, and where it put me at, was being on this edge of like, I can't be comfortable. You see, I'm the most quote unquote successful person in my family. So in my circle, I felt like I made it. And so this is kind of where you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourselves with. And so because I didn't surround myself with other people that pushed me to the next level, elevated me, I was comfortable. I hit a plateau. And until I changed my environment, uh, it, it's when I was able to reach the next level, and I continue pushing, because every time I reach a milestone, you're there and like, okay, what's next? Like, you're meant for more. You're meant for greatness. Like, don't settle. What's next? Because if it was up to me, the very first Airbnb that I launched, honestly, without the proper mentorship and guidance that I received from you and Stephanie also at the time, I would have stayed there. I would have called it a night or called it a day, gone out for drinks and celebrating dinners, because I accomplished something and that's it. But here's the one thing that I've realized and learned in the Real System is that the goals that you reach then become the bottom of the next mountaintop you're getting ready to achieve. And that's how you can continue growing. And so when I started, like I mentioned, I started with zero. I had no previous assets to show for my name. And getting my first property was a big milestone. That to me, that was, and the limited beliefs that I had was like, that is the life goal of someone, is just buying one house. And I felt like accomplished. Yeah, and I'm not going to take it short. Yes, it was an accomplishment, but it continued to push me. Like, I get to have more.
Powerful.
And so being around you and all the other investors that I've been able to network and meet in the Real System made me realize that, man, I'm not successful at all. Like, so that's why you need to expose yourself with people that have the results that you're striving at reaching, because otherwise you're going to live comfortable, and the only way that you get to achieve what you haven't been able to achieve is to do what you have not yet done. And if you're in comfort zone, is never going to happen.
Yeah, it's powerful. If you want to change your life, change your environment. I've learned that as human beings and all living organisms, we always adapt to our environment for survival. You look at plants, animals that don't have any fur versus those who do have fur. And you look at those who live where it's really cold versus really hot, and their skin type. We've always in the hundreds of thousands of years have adapted to our environment for survival. And we are a product of our environment. So if you want to change your life, change your environment. And I clearly remember my mentor at Rich Dad, she said, Jorge, if you can change your friends, then change your friends. Because I believe that in every engagement, in every conversation, you're either enrolling people to become more like you, or they're enrolling you to become more, or they're enrolling you to become more like them. Let me say that again. So in every engagement, in every conversation, people are either enrolling you to become more like them, or you are enrolling them to become more like you. And then going back to what you were saying earlier, Lupita, it's a huge accomplishment because not only did you buy your first property in your early 30s as a single Latina, minority woman, but then you went on and you converted the garage into an ADU. So within a short few months, you went from 0 to 2 properties, right?
Yeah.
And you have I remember going to your house and like one of your bedrooms was basically for your shoes.
Yeah.
And like it's pretty awesome. It's like you have the whole casa like just to yourself, and the ADU, which is an Airbnb, pays for your mortgage. So you're basically living mortgage payment free. This is something that most people never accomplish in their entire life. Everyone's largest expense is where they live, whether it's rent or a mortgage. And shortly after coming to my mastermind, within a few months, you got rid of your largest payment that you'll ever have for the rest of your life. And so what does your portfolio look like today? I'm sure people are wondering, like, how many properties do you own, the subleasing, the management, so people
Yeah.
can kind of know what the results are after a couple of years that you've created.
Yeah. So initially, as you mentioned, when I first started, I did go into the purchasing route. I did have enough to purchase at the time. And so with that purchase, of course, with your help and Stephanie's help, I was able to convert the garage into an additional living space through an accessory dwelling unit. So as you mentioned, it's literally 2 units from one property. So it's two units, and then from there, I was able 6 months after I recuperated my initial investment in 6 months time frame, which is unheard of in the traditional type of rental business, right? In 6 months after, I recuperated my investment and I was in the position to reinvest. So I decided to go into the subleasing strategy. So of course, with all the knowledge and guidance that I received inside of the real system, and your guidance, I was able to find a sublease that was 100% fully furnished to the point of silverware, even a coffee maker. I mean, literally, it was like a home. You just need to bring your suitcase and it's ready. Like, it saved me thousands of dollars. I literally only had to pay for the first and last month's rent. And of course, I did invest a few $100s in decor just to make it a little bit more my style. But yeah, that after that,
Powerful.
having my sublease, I then eventually transitioned into trying out the management side, which, by the way, blew my mind because it was the first time I had gone into the management side of Airbnb. And because I had already purchased and I had already subleased, I was already used to needing to have upfront overhead to get started. And of course, the rate of return is 10 times fold, but I was used to needing to have that overhead in order to get into that strategy. And with management, I was shocked to experience that I needed zero.
Wow.
Like, you don't need any overhead. And that's one thing that you go into detail in the coaching program, is how to literally use other people's money to create cash flow producing assets for you. So I now have 2 co-hosts that add, pretty much in combination, give me an additional about 4K of profit. Some in a anywhere ranges between 4 to about 6K of profit
Powerful.
additionally to what my other properties make. And then shortly now, this year, actually, January 27th of 2022, I officially closed on my other purchase that I have. And
Wow.
so it's now, we we uh, pretty much set it up, it, with, of course, being intentional. We did a few minor, changes that we wanted to do, but it didn't take like 3 months. It literally took like a week extra, and we launched mid February, and now it's up and that's my newest listing.
Powerful. So you got multiple properties that you own, you got a sublease and multiple properties that you manage. And then, so Lupita, I know you just got engaged. Congratulations. That was
Thank you.
beautiful. I got to see the pictures and some videos on Instagram. And what do you feel is next? What lies ahead? What are your goals? In life and with your family, like what lies ahead for Lupita Guerrero?
Yeah, so of course is in God's timing and God willing, but of course I want to be a mother. I can't wait. Every time that you and Stephanie share Gata's videos from when she came home from the hospital to where she's at today, and even right now with your guys' baby number two, like the baby bump, like it just excites me to be able to experience that area of my life that I haven't been able to experience yet, to become a parent and be and pretty much give everything that I could to this little mini me or mini him. I don't know what it will be, but so pretty much create my family legacy for generational wealth, and of course continue investing in my personal growth and development. Emotional intelligence is huge, because here's the thing: is if it's not up to me, if it's to be, it's up to me. And I don't want to bring a child into the world and inherit all the past generational traumas that my past ancestors gave to me. And I'm sure they didn't do this intentionally, but with responsibility, it is my responsibility to have it stop with me, so that moving forward from me, my family experiences love, uh, transparency, unity, like nothing of those traumas that unfortunately, for a lot of us, is all we get.
Powerful. To kind of wrap up, Lupita, what would you say to somebody who's listening right now to the podcast and maybe they have the capital to purchase or sublease? They want to get started with Airbnb. They're looking at videos on YouTube, on social media, but they're a little hesitant because they don't know if it's, a good time, if it's a profitable business. Maybe they're having a hard time just believing in themselves. Can you speak to that mindset of that person a little bit?
Yeah. So first off, I was there. I was right there with you too, and I know the what comes up, right? Like, oh, it took me years to save this up. I don't want to waste it or invest it, but it gets confused with investing with thinking that you're wasting it, right? And it's all a perspective in your mindset. Really, if you look back, right, with inflation, for example, prices keep going up. And as prices keep going up, the value of money is depreciating. If you're not investing your money, you're losing money. Like you need to do something to make your money grow. And it's not going to grow sitting on, metaphorically speaking, sitting under your couch, or in other words, just being saved in the bank. The banks give you less than 1% of interest rate of return. You have better chances often and investing in something else to grow your money faster. So my advice would be, don't overdo it. Where else has that played out in your life? How is that how or what other areas has overthinking and overanalyzing favored you, or what has it done for you? You get to step away from that and take action, because the more we overanalyze, time is going to continue ticking. And before you know it, 5 years pass by, and you would look back and wish, like, oh, I wish I would have just taken action then. I have people that I know, that I actually tried to bring along with me in my journey and in coming into the real system and in my growth. And they're still over analyzing. And I look at them and I pray for them. I really do. And I pray for you too, to get out of that over analyzing, because it's like, if I would have stayed there, I would be right there too.
Wow. That's right. Cash is trash and savers are losers. 30% of our money in circulation today was printed in 2020. Why would you work so hard, trade time for money to save something that is losing its value at about 15% a year? Like if you have 100,000 right now, in 1 year, you'll really have 85,000. You'll have 100, but your purchasing power has dropped and now only is worth $85,000. So the poor and the middle class work really hard to save their money. What the wealthy and rich do is invest their money. So if you want to become successful financially, create financial abundance, create financial freedom, you have to learn how to invest your money, and you have to start by first investing in yourself. With that being said, everybody, make sure you guys look at the description down below, download my free ebook, follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and we want to help you go from where you are right now and help you create an extraordinary life by creating and launching cash flow producing assets with Airbnb. And with that being said, Lupita, thank you so much for taking valuable time out of your day to come here, share your story, inspire and empower others to do the same. And thank you for living life and leading by example.
Thank you for having me, Jorge. And I can't wait to meet all of you that are listening because you can do it too.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.